Very well put. I like that. Protecting myself in a way, not in a physical way, but in I guess in your own little world, uh, you know, keeping away from, oh, how do I put it I'll put it in a child's way, the bad things in life. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but yeah, it protects me. Yeah, it sure does. When I get home from, you have a good day at work, you have a bad day at work. It happens. That I feel I'm in. That's my own little world, and it's a little box that I'm in, and no one can get to me, so to speak.
I understand. And
I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but
that is a good way to put it. And a lot of writers do revert to poetry as sort of a cathartic experience. It's a way to deal with issues that they face in everyday life. Now, I know we're just getting started here, and real quickly I want to say that we have John Crain in here. He's helping us with the board this morning. He is the program director here for KABF. And then we also, for those just joining us, we have Billie Nardozzi. He is a distinguished poet. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, among other areas, and he's very, very dedicated to his craft. So we're going to be having a continuing conversation with him about poetry and its value and kind of what he sees in the work that he does. And so we want to encourage you to join along with us and see if you can gain a little bit from this discussion. You might want to call in and join us as well. You can always call in at 433-0088. Now, getting back to the discussion, Billie, you were featured this year in the Wall Street Journal. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I was.
I want to read just the opening paragraph of that right now. It says, "One of Billie Nardozzi's greatest strengths as a poet is persistence." And you say, "I do pretty much one a day, like vitamins," he said, after serving a visitor donuts at his kitchen table one recent afternoon. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was extraordinary. The editor had called me, and I get many calls. Some of them are just people fooling around. So I didn't take it serious. He said, "This is the editor of the Wall Street Journal. I'd like to do a story on you." I went, "Yeah, okay." So I just thought nothing of it. And if they call back a second time, it's usually true. To make a long story short, he called back, and we set up an interview. And he said, "Where would you like to do it?" And I said, "My place would be fine." So he had come over, and I thought, when someone comes to my home, I like to offer them something. So I went and bought some fresh donuts, and we had coffee. It was a very nice setting. We sat in the kitchen, and he, like you said, he discussed my poetry. And what we did was pretty extraordinary. He asked me if I would like to go out in on the town and do my everyday things that I do when I'm off work. So what we did, I stopped at the bank. I go to the bank. I go to the grocery store. I go to McDonald's, and we stopped at. We went to the church I go to, and we went to all those places. And it was, he did a great job. He was a wonderful person, and it was just an extraordinary experience for me. It was something I'll never forget, and that's how that started. And then he had said, "Do you mind if I make the notes and put this in the paper?" I said, it didn't take long. I said, "Yes, that'll be fine." But what I did not know, he put it was on the front page. I was shocked. I went, "What?" I had no idea. Someone that I guess nobody in the world doesn't know. I said, "Oh, that'll be the last page or something." But that on the front page, people would call me, and it was on the internet, and it was just a wonderful thing that happened to me, and I'll never forget it.
Yes, absolutely. Um, there are very few people who get recognized as a poet on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So you have accomplished something that a great many academic poets have not, and they would
Jeez.
certainly love to do that, I know. So, what is the secret to your success? You've not only been recognized by the Wall Street Journal, there's also some other significant areas where you have been recognized. And I also know that they are working on a documentary featuring you and some of your work as well. I know that you said in the article that you write a poem a day. And that is one point that I have tried to make to people time and time again, is that for most people, success just doesn't happen overnight. You know, you really put in a lot of sweat equity. I mean, you know, it's not something you can just fly by the seat of your pants, you know, just, you know, sit down and suddenly you're going to be a poet and expect notoriety the next day. It just, for so many, it just really doesn't happen that way. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort, the art, the expression, the pieces of your heart. And I know
absolutely. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know with you that you said that you write every day, and that takes such an amount of dedication. Tell me a little bit about that.
That is absolutely correct. I do it every day because I love doing it. I enjoy doing it. It's a great hobby, and I do it because I can't. I have this thing I got to write about certain things that I see that people talk about. I can't wait to get home and write about it. That's why I do it. Sometimes it's even more than one a day, but it's definitely one a day. That's definite, but sometimes it's more. And I mostly do it because, other than the fact that I like to write about everything, I don't like to forget it. I like to do it because I enjoy it. And if I'm sending it to someone, in which I do, I get calls, people asking what I write for their kid's graduation or a wedding. I even got called to ask for a funeral. Someone had lost someone.
Oh my gosh!
And but I don't. The funeral poems, I don't make it sad. I make it as a happier place they're in, and how great they were while they were here. I try to keep it positive. And I do it because it makes people happy. I'm happy knowing when I'm writing those poems, and it's someone I'm sending them to, I'm figuring, is this is going to make that person happy? That makes me happy. I make no money at it, and I don't care, because, I mean it. I think making someone happy and them telling you that what a fine job you did and I'll cherish it forever, that's worth more than any money in the world. Money disappears. Memories don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask you something. I saw something here the other day, and I want to share this with you, and then I want to get your opinion on it. It says here, there are many definitions of poetry as there are poets. Wordsworth defined poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Emily Dickinson said, "If I read a book and it makes my body so cold, no fire ever can warm me, I know that is poetry." And Dylan Thomas defined poetry this way: poetry is what makes me laugh or cry or yawn, what makes my toenails twinkle, what makes me want to do this or that or nothing at all. Poetry is a lot of things to a lot of people, and there was a writer by the name of Flanagan who wrote that. I wanted to ask you, what is a poem to you?
That's a great question. A poem to me is a compilation of words that can reach out to someone somewhere.
Right.
Someone somewhere.
That's right.
You don't know who. It's those words that reach out to someone. They could change them for the better. Have a new outlook on life. It's words that should never not I don't never never be never not be written. It should go on forever. Words are very strong. They can say a heck of a lot.
Yes.
Poetry to me is kind of life.
Absolutely. You know, for those people that are just meeting you for the first time, your work is substantially different from most of the poets out there, and I think that is part of the reason that you get the notoriety that you do. And the way that your work is different is that you are very encouraging. We live in in the words of Tom Cruise, we live in a very cynical world, and we really do. And everyone that I know is dealing with some type of inner struggle, and we are bombarded every day with all types of depressing things, and just to find a little morsel of hope, a little morsel of kind, encouraging words there's so much value in that. And part of the real beauty of your work is that you are very encouraging. You are very positive in everything you do, and you don't use $5 words. With you,
I do. I don't use them, and I don't know them either. Honestly, I don't. I just barely finished my 12th grade.
Cool.
That's the truth.
And here you are, and you have this vast ability to reach people with your simplicity in a way that people who have studied for years never could. And
that's crazy.
It is not about being better than someone else when it comes with you. It is not a competition. I used to work as the poetry editor for the Log Cabin Democrat, which is a local newspaper that we have around here. And I did that while I was in college. And we would have people send in poetry every week, and we got such a vast array of, poems. And they were wonderful, and they were very, very creative. And people were very, they were very detailed in their topics, and they dealt with the most sensitive issues, that you could imagine. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this vast, I've seen a lot of variety, but with you really have something different, and you keep your poems very short. And
I do. I like
happy.
to. Thank you. I do.
And so, go ahead.
I just like to keep them short and to the point. I don't think something too long. Even if you think it's good, some people get bored fast. Oh, that's too long. They won't even start reading it. They'll look at the length and say, forget it.
Yes, absolutely. For many poets, it is a cathartic experience. Are there struggles that you have faced? Do you have? Are there any poems in particular that sort of relate to difficult situations that you've had, and how do you express them in a positive way when you've had something so earth-shattering or occur to you? How do you take the negative and turn it into a positive? How do you find the rainbow?
Okay, let me first say that you asked very good questions.
Thank you.
I do it in this way. And as you said, yes, I've faced some things in my life. I've different things that I've written about. Yeah, and most of the things I do write are true stories. They've happened to me. Like I said before, I first start out what actually happened. But the words I use, I don't get graphic. I don't get use too strong of a word. I try to make it light. I don't want anybody to go, I try to make it light. And then I gradually have them read that, he's getting better. He's getting over it. Oh, he's over it. I try to make it end up like he's going to be okay. It was a tragedy. It was a sad thing, and it makes people smile at the end. Looks like he's going to get over it. That's what I do. To be honest with you, I don't like to have anybody I mean, they've cried, and they've cried happy tears. They've cried happy tears. There's a big difference in crying sad tears. I don't like anybody to be bawling over my poems. You know, so that's how I like to do it. Like I say, and again, thank you. You're very observant. I do keep them simple. You know, simple words.
Right.
That's. I mean, it's always how I've written.
Well, what is your favorite poem, and how many poems have you written?
Oh, your questions are getting better and harder. Okay, I have to credit you there. Oh, I would say I have stacks in the shed that I did years ago that I thought I was ready to scrap them. Let me say, I don't know, 700, maybe 1,000.
Wow.
I honestly, I really don't know. I don't keep track, but I have stacks of them there. And there's some, I can be a critic of my own stuff. I'll write it, and the next day I'll read it, and I'll hate it, and I'll throw it out. Mm-hmm. I threw a stack out one time, and I shouldn't have, because now I think of some that I could use, get the idea from, and I threw it out. But that's how I am a critic. Is you know. But I would say 700 to 1,000, and there'll be a lot more in 10 years, because that's all I do.
I have a question for you.
What's that?
I have a question for you, real quick.
Okay.
Several years ago, I did a feature story on a local poet, and he's an elderly gentleman, really nice, very creative, and he's done hundreds and hundreds of poems. And the unique thing about him, and he lives in Conway, the unique thing about him is that he has never put any of his poems on the computer, not one of them. He has stacks and stacks of papers and, poems, and they're all handwritten, and none of them have been archived on a computer anywhere. I was wondering what kind of system you have.
What was that?
What kind of archival system do you have for your works? The gentleman that I met, he doesn't put his poetry on the computer at all. And I was just wondering what you do.
Well, I put them on the internet. I have a Facebook page. I put them on there. I do a local. I put them out every week here in our local Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I have them out every Monday. As I say, I keep them. I have stacks of paper here, stacks of poems here that I keep, and I like to keep copies, and I do keep copies of them. I get a lot of them laminated. I have them in a briefcase.
Okay.
So that's it.
Well, do you think there is value in putting poems on the internet? Do you think that is a good way to get established, or do you think that devalues the work? What do you think?
Devalues the work? I don't know. I don't think so on that. Putting them on the internet, I've had people use them for different things, and as I say, they relate to them. It's free exposure.
Right.
I'll say that. It's not bad. And that, like I say, if I think it's going to help somebody, and it has, they've told me, it's a very nice feeling. But I do, the value in it is sharing it with people and having them appreciate it and use it. They've used it for different things that makes me feel good.
Okay. Do you want to share a poem with us? We're going to take a musical break here in just a few moments, but do you want to share a poem before we go to our musical interlude?
Okay, I will.
Okay.
This one I had written, I think it was for Thanksgiving. I wrote a poem for my mom, and it was entitled Giving Thanks. And that's the title of it. I thank you so much for being my mom. I thank you so much for all you have done. I thank you for the mornings you made my bed, and I thank you for all the nice things that you said. And I thank you for nursing me when I caught the flu and never leaving my side until the fever was through. And I thank you for mending my bruises and sprains and my cuts and my scrapes and my aches and my pains. And I thank you for helping with my homework each day because you knew it would give me time to play. And I thank you for the money for the matinee show, though we really didn't have the money to go. And I thank you for your kind and special way and for caring for me 24 hours a day. I love you, Mom. Happy Thanksgiving.
That was Billie Nardozzi. This is Tracy Crain, and you've been listening to the CNC Show on KABF 88.3. We'll be right back.
Profile America, Tuesday, August 18th.
Hello.
An emotional and legal battle that lasted many decades ended on this date in 1920, changing the course of U.S. social and political history. The event was the certification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The amendment prohibits discrimination based on sex with regard to voting. In short, it extended to women the right to vote. 2 days earlier, Tennessee had become the required 36th state to ratify the amendment in spite of last-minute efforts by some state lawmakers to overturn the legislature's action. American women exercised their new right for the first time in the 1920 presidential election. In the 2012 presidential election, 63.7% of women voted, compared with just under 60% for men. You can find more facts about America from the U.S. Census Bureau online at census.gov.
Hello, this is Tracy Crain. You're listening to the CNC Show. We're here with John Cain and Billie Nardozzi. He is a distinguished poet from Pennsylvania. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, and they are currently working on a documentary about him. And so we're talking with him today a little bit about his work. Billie, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hi, Billie. So before we went to break, you were sharing a poem about your mom. Can you tell me a little bit about that poem, about writing that poem?
Yes, I was sitting there thinking of when I was a child, looking back on all those days, and I wanted to, that's when I had also put in the local paper, I wanted all the mothers out there to know how much they were appreciated, and also, obviously, how much I appreciated my mother. And I just thought, I'm going to do this one, and it was just the things that my mother did for me and how I appreciated them, and we'll never forget them.
That's beautiful. It is a touching poem. I know that when you were reading it, I could feel the authenticity to it.
I get emotional sometimes. I do.
It's very real. And so we're discussing the secrets of poetry and kind of taking a look at your work. And we know that you've become an established poet, and just kind of discussing how that happens and what exactly is this term poetry and things like that. I read something here. It says, when it comes to poems, you read it, it reads you, and it becomes an object lesson. Something else that I wanted to share here. It says, poetry was originally the reply to a crying need. It answered a practical question, the necessity for news. Troubadours on their long journeys gave a lift and a rhythm to their messages that made them easier to remember and to tell. Poetry grew with the times. It became the privilege of princes, and it sang of heroism and love in all the royal courts of Europe. Poetry, besides chronicling beauty, has always painted the most vivid picture of its own times. Romantic or stark with facts, it has been the perfect description of the period it sought to depict, or the age in which it was composed. And this is true of all countries and all times. Do you think your work depicts the current time?
I leave that to the readers of it. I let them judge. I hope it does, in every good way. But as I say, I'll leave it to them. I don't like to. I don't know how to categorize myself. I let the fans do that. They can make you or break you, so I go by them.
That's right.
I do.
That's right. Do you ever do poetry readings? Do you ever go to bookstores?
Oh, yes, I do. Oh, I love them.
Great.
I do. Most of them I do are senior citizen homes, and it's the greatest time in the world. I don't only read poetry, though. I kind of break it up. I read a couple poems. I bring my guitar. I sing a couple songs. I sing very popular songs that everybody knows. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Everybody knows that. We all live in a yellow submarine. Everybody knows that. So I said, hey, I'm going to get away with this. Everybody knows these songs. But I break it up into that. I have a Q&A session. I have I do a pantomime. I just play a song and I act it out. I try to break it up. I don't want to just stand there and read poetry. So that is my greatest time, the poetry readings, which we just have a blast.
One time I went to Barnes & Noble's, and for a while Barnes & Noble's would bring in poets, and they would have these poetry readings, and the poets would try to sell their books, and I really hope that you put together a book soon. You have been so kind and generous. You give your work away to everyone, and you've given it to so many venues here in Arkansas. You share your work with Arkansas readers, and like you said, you don't get paid for it, and it's really a very kind act that you do. I went to Barnes & Noble's, and there was a poet there. She's here from Arkansas. She's very popular. Her name is Andrea Hollander Buddy, and she did a reading, and I was just fascinated with her. I thought, what a great writer, and in many ways she has a very simple format like you, and she has a wonderful voice. And there are writers that I have read throughout my life that have just really touched me emotionally. I have written ever since I was in the 4th grade. I used to keep a journal, and I've kept a journal all the years of my life, and I've written poetry here and there, and there was one that I worked on diligently, and I got that one published, and then I just kind of let that be sort of the epitome of my poetry career. But I grew up with people who have wonderful voices, who have wonderful work, and I'm fascinated with all these different styles and these voices, and I really appreciate all the effort and the work that they do. But when I was at this poetry reading, I sat there in awe listening to this writer, and afterward, I got to speak with her, and I was so excited about that because I thought, here's this great chance, to speak with this lady, and she's done all this tremendous work, and I was just so excited. And she said the greatest thing to me. And one of the things she said to me is, she goes, as I was reading, I looked up and I could see your face. And I thought to myself, here's a person who just really gets it. They really understand. And those are like the most beautiful things that anybody could, say to me. I was so
Nice.
Yes, and I'm sharing this with you because what you say to your fans makes a difference. And have you ever had anyone come up to you like that? And how do you embrace those situations?
Approach me in the comment of my poems,
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah, they've approached me when I go shopping sometime, and like you say, it's a wonderful feeling when someone notices your work. People have approached me and say, "Oh, aren't you the one that writes those poems in the paper?" And the funny part of it is, you know what they say? I knew that was you by your mullet. Because I put the picture. The picture looks like me. So it's kind of funny. That I knew by the hair. So it's funny. But on the other hand, they make me feel very good. Did someone appreciate? Someone just read your work. That's a pretty nice feeling. Just read my work. That's a great feeling. Yes, and I get telephone calls too. Most of them are very nice, very pleasant.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it is, at the bottom of my poetry, I put all calls are welcomed.
That's wonderful.
All calls. So they took that serious, and I get all calls, but only a couple were, like, why are you writing this stuff? Jeez, get a life. What's with the hair? It went out in the '60s, dude. I'm serious. Guys will call. They'll be like in a bar. It's guys. You can tell they've been drinking. They'll say this crazy stuff, but it's harmless. It's harmless. So, you never hear them again. But I would never. I'll tell you, I would never ever complain about it. If I did, I'd be a hypocrite, because I put all calls are welcomed, and I mean it. Say whatever you want to say, and I'll tell you what. Sometimes it helps. I've had some say, "Oh, well, you could have used a better word there," and they were correct. Sometimes you really don't see your own work the way other people see it, and I appreciate. I said, "Well, thank you very much," and I'll tell you, I've improved from some things that people have brought to my attention. They're not trying to be mean. They're trying to be very nice and help you.
Okay. We're wrapping up here, Billy.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on the show today, and I want to thank John for being here with us and all of our listeners. Hopefully you've enjoyed the discussion. As we wrap up, I want to ask Billy to read a poem in closing, if you don't mind.
Okay, I would love to.
Okay.
Let's see. Can I read? Okay. I just got a request from one of my relatives. His daughter was getting married, and he asked me to write a poem about their marriage. So I wrote this. It is entitled "Bride and Groom." May your lives together connect at the seams and bring happiness beyond your wildest dreams. And may your hours in the day be filled with the sun and lighten your world one by one. And may the months and the years bring glitter and gladness and block out any sorrow or sadness. And may all that you do and all that you say always end up in a very nice way.
This is KABF 88.3. You've been listening to Billie Nardozzi on the CNC Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great lunch.
And I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Arkansas Talkers. You're invited to listen to the Arkansas Talks radio show on KABF every Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. with your host, Pat Rogers-Ward, Kendall Booker, and introducing our new co-host,
Milton Shannon. And we will continue the conversation on empowerment through information and knowledge regarding the $1.2 trillion black spending power and how you should participate in the political process.
You're listening to KABF 88.3, the voice of the people. This is Wade Rathke with the Daily Voice of the People News Bulletin. The International Office of Migration has counted 134,988 migrants crossing the Mediterranean into Greece from Turkey this year. Italy has recorded 93,540, with Spain and Malta. The numbers hit 237,000 in 2015, with over 250,000 forecast for the year. A federal judge blocked the closing of the busiest abortion clinic in Alabama as curtailing women's rights and health access. Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas ordered the Department of Human Services to terminate its Medicaid contract to Planned Parenthood in 30 days, despite a warning from the federals that this might violate women's free choice in Medicaid providers. Delaware, Florida, and Louisiana are the top 3 states for bicycle deaths on the road. Despite a shareholder approval of a resolution separating the CEO and chairman's job at Bank of America that was engineered by the Service Employees Union and Finger Industries of Houston, the board passed a resolution ignoring the vote and recombining the jobs. 2/3 of retirees take their Social Security benefits early, with only 1% to 2% waiting until 70 years old, even though the retirement benefit is 76% higher after adjusting for inflation than it is at 62. Expanding eligibility for student loan repayment program called REPAY for revised pay-as-you-earn is set at 10% of your discretionary income and ends after 20 years for undergraduate and 25 years for graduate school. In Wisconsin, Governor Scott Walker and the legislature approved paying half, or $250 million, for a basketball arena in Milwaukee, at the same time that they cut $250 million from the state's university system. A Seattle restaurant decided to institute the $15 per hour increase 2 years early by raising prices 21% and eliminating tips, and it's working at the Salmon House. The lifetime odds of dying by various injuries puts motor vehicle accidents at 1 to 112, assault with a firearm at 1 to 358, 1 in 8,015 for a plane crash, 1 in over 42,000 from a venomous animal or plant, and 1 in almost 165,000 for being hit by lightning. Voice of the People Daily Bulletin presents People's News about action and issues that demand action. This is Wade Rathke, and this bulletin is brought to you thanks to Acorn International, Local 100 United Labor Unions, Social Policy Magazine, and the affiliated Media Foundation Movement, AM/FM.
Hello, Arkansas Talkers. You're invited to listen to the Arkansas Talks radio show on KABF every Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. with your host, Pat Rogers Ward, Kendall Booker, and introducing our new co-host,
Milton Shannon. And we will continue the conversation on empowerment through information and knowledge regarding the $1.2 trillion black spending power and how you should participate in the political process.
It's the party to the party. Ride the Arkansas Times Blues Bus to the King Biscuit Blues Festival. It's the 30th anniversary of the festival, and we're bringing the party with us. Join us